musician, artist, songwriter, creative thinker, fellow human being, learning to let go of control, with a longing to live this life through a creative lens, letting curiosity and kindness take the seat over ego. And I'm not there yet. I'm still working this out. Over 20 years ago, I left my hometown of Hawaii and got on an airplane, headed halfway across the world, and with this heart and an idea that the power of creativity could bridge divides. Can creative expression and the arts build bridges between diverse people? Could music somehow be a universal language that could let people connect at a deeper heart level? Throughout this journey, I've gotten to meet musicians and people from diverse cultural backgrounds, getting to experience and appreciate their unique expressions. I could tell from your reaction that a few of you were kind of a little bit surprised seeing somebody looking like me making a sound like that. That's a Mongolian throat singing. And it has just been amazing to meet people and find expressions of art and creativity and abstract thought. Our band has gotten to play all over the country, and we've gotten to meet both emerging and established artists coming together as a community. We've also gotten to share our music with others, not as a platform, but as an invitation. An invitation to ask the deep questions of life and maybe even not have the answers. An invitation to walk together in creativity. An invitation to lay down our own egos and listen. I want to take a moment here. I want you, by show of hands, who among you would consider yourselves creative? You might be like, I am in the creative camp. Can we see? Got the lights on. Oh, I see quite a few hands come up. Okay, there's a bit of creatives, fellow creatives out in the crowd. Now, if you wouldn't mind, raise your hand if you feel like, I don't have a single creative bone in my body. Would you raise your hand? Put it up there high. Okay, a few creatives raised their hand, and now a few people raised their hand saying they don't have creative. So we've got a little bit of a mystery going on here. Today, I would like to take a chance to kind of challenge our assumptions and our preconceptions about the notion of creativity. The Cambridge Dictionary describes abstraction as existing as an idea, a feeling, or a quality, not as material object. And concrete, by the Merriam-Webster, is referring to real, tangible objects or events of the specific or definite. And I would say this abstract and concrete concepts, it might be easy to think, okay, creative, abstract, good, concrete, bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. I want you to hear what I'm sharing today. It's not an either or. It's not a creative or a non-creative, but it's a both and. Both coming together as one. Could you imagine a young guitar student? Let's not even call him a guitar student. Imagine a young kid wanting to pick up the guitar and grabbing this instrument home, never taking a single time to learn about the frets or the strings or even notes or what you tune it up to. Something creative may come out of that. But if somebody takes the time to learn the concrete skills and steps to understand things like music theory and chord and harmonic structure, then that gives them the tools to grow beyond that and to creatively express something. So I want to say, whether you consider yourself in a creative field or in a concrete field, whether you feel like you're in business or accounting and feel like, well, I just plug in the numbers, abstract and creative thinking, there's something even in it for you as well, too. This is something that's available for all of us, not just for the artists on the edge. And I want to talk to you about a creative concept that's really impacted me. And this is the idea of showing versus telling. Pat Pattison, he's a teacher at the Berkeley College of Music, and he's written a book called Writing Better Lyrics. And he talks about the fact that young songwriters starting out will often have the idea of like, what can I tell you through this song? You know, what's the message I want to speak out? I want to list it objectively, A, B, C, D. And he talks about that sometimes it's better to show them, to let the listener inhabit the lyrics. I'm going to just pull up a couple lyrics from one of our songs and then contrast it with something else. I pulled it out from the pocket of my blue jeans. Faded corners, torn edges, but the picture's still clear to me. Over 20 years ago, you came into my life. Not in a million years would have guessed that you would be my wife. Versus, I love you so much, and I'm glad I married you. These 20 years have been amazing. Both say the same thing, right? But one gives room for emotional impact and connection. Allows your creative mind, even you listening to those and reading those words, I imagine you could have pictured yourself, if you've had the privilege of being married to somebody for over 20 years and connecting with your best friend. I imagine you imagined your spouse in that picture. And if you're not yet married and you have a concept of love and connection, you are imagining and envisioning yourself in that, right? Whereas, I love you so much, it's been a really great marriage, and I'm happy for these 20 years. It's more just a statement that you can cognitively understand. So this idea of showing versus telling, it's not an either or. Again, this is a both and, because sometimes telling is important, you know. But I think even if you're in business, if you're an accountant, if you're a leader of a team and you're trying to create a concept, sometimes listing bullet points out, people are not just getting it. Perhaps a story, an example from your own life, something meaningful, would carry more weight. I'm going to kind of move disciplines. Now, as we've shared with you, I feel like I've kind of creatively inhabited the area of music, but I am not much of a drawer or a painter at all. And a really good friend of mine, Danny Coyle, who's an engineer and a business entrepreneur and leadership and development coach, he would have raised his hand earlier in that camp that says, I don't have a creative bone in my body, in his first 40 years of life. And in the last couple of years, he picked up this book, and it had this concept about seeing the space between the lines, between the boundaries. This comes from a book by Betty Edwards called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And she talks about this principle that people, when first starting out trying to commit something to paper, often imagine the concept of a chair and the edges of it and draw the outline of it. And when you draw it, it actually doesn't look quite represented. And Danny was sharing with me his own journey with this and about seeing between the lines and laying down his concepts and being expanded. Now, this was his first self-portrait that he did the week he picked up this book. This was 2 weeks later. See, that concept of seeing the space between the lines unlocked something for him. This was just a couple months later. Same self-portrait. And something unlocked, allowing Danny to see emotion, to connect with heart. And I was on a phone call with Danny Coyle talking about this in my courtyard in Beijing. And we had a snail infestation where the snails would come up and they would eat the leaves and they would go down at night. And so I read on the internet and they said the best thing to do is to wrap this foil tape. Now that's about like a 4x4 post. And I may be creative when it comes to music and willing to try things, but I am a stickler for details when it comes to home improvement. And I can't stand when things don't line up right. And I had been putting up this tape because I'm just imagining trying to line it up and wrapping it around that post. And it is not going to line up. it's going to be overlapping. And so I was just absolutely dreading this. I got off the phone call with my friend Danny, and I thought, we had already been looking at how this concept applies even to daily life and leadership principles. And I thought, could that apply to this? Could I let go of the lines and see the space between? Took a breath, calmed myself, stopped trying to line it up, and it lined up perfectly. Then another picture zoomed in. You see, that's actually the edge of the tape, and it is not even a millimeter gap. I thought, well, okay, that must be a fluke thing. I had 4 other posts. Every post, first time, first try, lined up by letting go. I was able to let go of control. One of my good friends, Stephen Gletto, a multidisciplinary artist who has artwork that exhibits that has exhibited in this country and has been shown in galleries worldwide. He was talking with me about this, and he said it's about losing control or letting go of the control that you think you needed. And I want to share one of Stephen's artworks. I'm going to stand to the side so you can see that. This is one of his pieces, abstract piece. All is abstraction. Language, symbols, paintings, musical notes, even photographs themselves, they're not the actual object. All is abstraction. These abstract perspectives, a creative mindset, can unlock creative possibilities. I believe it can also help bring us together. Years ago, I used to have this idea that if I was in a disagreement with somebody and I wasn't quite seeing eye to eye with an individual, if I just talked long enough, reiterated myself like 3 or 4 more ways, brought in like some examples and diagrams, that I could convince the person to come alongside to my side of this ideal. And I know if in music, there's an idea of unison, right? And that's everybody singing the same note. Let's do this together. I want you to sing out that note with me. Louder, don't be shy. Okay, great. All right, so we're singing in unison there. We're all together singing the same note, right? And there's an idea, I believe unity in it itself is a good thing. But this idea of harmony versus unity is something I've been thinking about a lot more in these past years. Sam Harris, a neuroscientist and a philosopher and a podcaster, talks about this idea that in the human experience, most humans have more in common than we have in difference with each other. That there are a basic set of human values that almost all of us have. Most people want to be happy. Most people want to find love. Most people in the entire planet would like to have a job that they feel matters. Most people want their kids to grow up better than they did, but yet our society and our current state, we've never been so more divided. There's ideological division. Social media, which we talked about even earlier, has helped to divide people, break people up into camps, bring people into echo chambers. And I believe that the power of creativity can bridge these divides. So I want to close with one last thing. We're going to do something. We call it the harmonic experiment, okay? Now, we have 2 groups right here. This is Group A and Group B. I guess that doesn't really matter. Over there and over here, okay? And we're going to try something with harmony, okay? So remember we did earlier that, no, let's do that all together. Now, when I take my hand and I raise it, I want you to go up in pitch. Good. All right, let's do that again louder. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, when I bring my arms in, then we can bring the intensity down. So loud. Keep going, guys. Okay, now when I point to this side, you can follow this hand. When I point to this side, you can follow this hand, okay? Are we going to try that? So we might have, let's have everybody, let's start on the same note. Now this side only. Bring it up louder, louder, louder. Wonderful. Wonderful. Give yourselves a hand. Wasn't that wild? Did you notice that you are listening to one another? I even heard some giggles out there of excitement of like, whoa, what is happening here? So this is the idea of coming together in harmony rather than trying to convince people in unity to have the same ideas. And could you imagine earlier when our band came out here, if we all tried to play at the same time as loud as we could, that would have been a mess, right? But rather there's times of listening, hearing, getting soft. Maybe even if somebody's saying something you don't like, you might not need to jump in and argue with it right away. But maybe we could listen. And as we've listened to other people, when they ask us our views, if they ask us, then we might humbly offer our opinion. I believe it's the power of creativity to bridge divides. And at very closing, I just want to encourage you, make space for curiosity. Thank you.